April 7th, 1943. Dawn spreads reluctantly over the vast Pacific, the horizon a thin smear of pale gold. The ocean below is an endless quilt of restless waves, each crest catching the weak light like molten silver. Above it, at 27,000 feet, a squadron of F6F Hellcats tears through the cold, thin air. Engines roar, vibrating through the metal frame, rattling the very souls of the men inside. You can almost feel the freezing wind biting through the cockpit, hear the shudder of the throttle, taste the ozone from supercharged engines. Lieutenant Commander John "Johnny" Smith peers through his visor, eyes scanning the vast expanse ahead, the sun glaring off the water in blinding streaks. Today, they are not just flying, they are facing nearly impossible odds. 2,500 Mitsubishi Zeros are reported in the area. 2,500 enemies. Every heartbeat thuds like a drum of doom. The radios crackle with anxious voices. "Vanguard 1, you see 'em?" Static. Then a sharp voice cuts through. "Bearing 200, altitude 25,000, thousands of 'em." Smith grips the stick tighter. Every pilot in this formation knows the reputation of the Zero: nimble, deadly, relentless. But the F6F Hellcat is a different beast, heavier, stronger, built to absorb punishment, built to survive. The Pacific air feels thinner as fear mingles with adrenaline, a cocktail no training can truly prepare you for. In the cockpit beside him, Lieutenant Robert "Bobby" Hayes checks his guns. Munitions loaded, ammo belts rattling. He glances at Smith and offers a brief, tense smile. "Here we go, Johnny." There's humor in his tone, but it's brittle, a thin veneer over raw fear. Of thousands of tiny aircraft, black specks slowly coalescing into a menacing swarm. The Zeros are coming. The first contact is sudden, almost violent. Japanese fighters dive from the sun, twisting in tight serpentine arcs. The Hellcats respond instantly, rolling and banking, engines screaming in defiance. You can almost feel the rush of air pressing against the fuselage, smell the acrid tang of exhaust, hear the gunfire erupt in staccato bursts that shake the soul. Chaos blossoms, aircraft tumble, smoke trailing like ghostly fingers reaching for the ocean. One of Smith's wingmen, Lieutenant James "Jimmy" Carver, goes down in a streak of fire. No time to mourn. Survival is immediate, instinctual. Every maneuver counts. The Hellcat's design gives them an edge in firepower and armor, but the numbers are staggering. You can almost feel the pull of G-forces as pilots push their aircraft to the limits, twisting through dives and climbs, spiraling through clouds of tracer rounds. A Zero dives too close. Smith pulls the trigger. Muzzle flashes illuminate the cockpit briefly, and the enemy plane wobbles, then spirals down into the endless blue below. One kill. The exhilaration is instantaneous but fleeting. Around him, dozens of Zeros continue their assault, like a tide heaving against a dam. Amidst the fury, moments of uncanny clarity appear. Smith catches sight of a lone Zero cutting away from the main swarm, trying to flank their formation. He reacts without thinking, banking sharply, chasing it with the precision of a hunter. There's a strange poetry in the chaos, a dance of death choreographed by skill, speed, and sheer luck. Below, the ocean stretches endlessly, indifferent, while above, the air is a theater of violence and courage. Suddenly, a scream over the radio. "Vanguard 1, we're breaking formation. Too many of them." Panic flares, but Smith's voice remains steady, authoritative. "Hold the line. Remember what we're flying. We're the Hellcats." It's more than a call to arms. It's a reminder of survival, of resilience. The Hellcat was designed to endure, and so must they. Each pilot knows the stakes. Each aircraft is a lifeline, a fragile armor against overwhelming odds. The battle intensifies, swirling around them in three-dimensional chaos. The sky seems alive with the flash of metal and fire. Pilots must calculate trajectories in split seconds, factoring speed, wind, gravity, and human error. One wrong move, and the Pacific claims another soul. Smith maneuvers with surgical precision, exploiting the Hellcat's superior dive speed and rugged structure. He can almost feel the aircraft respond, like a trusted companion understanding instinctively what must be done. A Zero crosses too close, another burst of machine gun fire, another enemy down. But even as they rack up kills, the scale of the fight becomes clear. Hundreds more Zeros approach from the east. Smith's mind races, strategy, survival, tactics. But fear is never far behind. It's a tension that tightens like a wire around the chest, making each decision a battle against time and mortality. The sun rises higher, glinting off the metal wings, illuminating the carnage, highlighting every perilous twist and dive. You can almost hear the distant roar of engines and the muffled cries over the radio, creating a symphony of desperation and courage. And then, amidst the turmoil, a revelation hits Smith. The Hellcat isn't just a plane. It's a turning point. Every maneuver, every shot fired, every split-second decision is reshaping the balance of air power in the Pacific. These men are not just fighting for survival, they are changing the course of the war. But the sky is still swarming. The Zeros show no sign of stopping. Smoke streaks through the clouds. Wingmen fall. The ocean below waits patiently. Smith tightens his grip on the controls. "We can't let them break through," he whispers to himself. The air feels electric, charged with fear, courage, and the knowledge that today could define everything. And then, on the horizon, a shadow moves. Not a single aircraft, not a small group, but an entire formation shifting, banking, turning, thousands of enemy fighters, 2,500 of them. And suddenly, the full scale of what lies ahead hits every pilot like a punch to the gut. Can they survive? Can the Hellcat live up to its reputation? The swarm above seemed endless, a living, breathing wall of black and silver, twisting in the sunlight like a storm made of metal. Lieutenant Commander Smith's eyes narrowed as he scanned the mass. Each Zero a predator, each pilot a ghost in the sky, trained to exploit the tiniest mistake. The Hellcat's engines screamed, and the vibration through the cockpit was almost a physical force, shaking bones, rattling nerves. You can almost feel it yourself, the way the cold, thin air bites at exposed skin, the tang of oil and smoke thick in the nostrils, the adrenaline pounding like a drum in every vein. Aerial perspective, calm ocean versus chaotic sky. From below, the ocean reflected the chaos above. Waves, unaware of human struggle, glimmered gold in the morning sun. Smoke trails and tracer fire laced the sky like threads in a violent tapes. Wingmen dove and spiraled, dodging enemy fire, rolling past each other with precision born of desperation. Lieutenant Hayes banked sharply, narrowly avoiding a Zero that cut across their formation. "I've got your 6!" he shouted, though the words barely carried over the roar. Every call, every movement was about survival, yet every second carried the weight of history. Smith spotted an opportunity, a gap in the formation where two Zeros had separated from the main body. Without hesitation, he tipped the nose of his Hellcat down into a steep dive. The G-forces pressed him hard into the seat, and the controls vibrated violently under his hands. You could almost feel the thrill mixed with terror, the balance between life and death hinging on a single maneuver. The Hellcat surged forward like a steel arrow. Muzzle flashes erupted, tracer rounds zigzagging through the sky, and one Zero wobbled, smoke trailing from its fuselage before it plummeted toward the ocean below. But there was no time to savor the victory. The formation ahead shifted, and new threats appeared like shadows materializing from thin air. Hundreds of enemy fighters converged, seeking to encircle, overwhelm, crush. Lieutenant Carver, diving to assist a comrade, caught a glimpse of a Zero lining up on his tail. Reflexively, he rolled, pulling hard on the stick. The enemy's gunfire chewed through the air around him. One wingman was gone in an instant, swallowed by fire, falling like a stone. Smith's voice cut through the static over the radio, calm but urgent. "Form tight. Don't break formation. Trust your Hellcat." The message was simple, but it carried the weight of command, of hope, of survival. The pilots responded, weaving in complex patterns, banking and rolling, using every advantage the Hellcat provided: heavier armor, superior diving speed, and powerful guns. The sky became a deadly ballet, each maneuver a step in a dance choreographed by instinct and training. From above, you could see the battle as a terrifying mosaic. Smoke trails crisscrossed the sky. Planes wobbled, spun, and sometimes disappeared entirely into the ocean. Explosions dotted the horizon, orange and black blossoms marking a momentary victory, immediately replaced by new threats. Every pilot knew that one miscalculation could be the last, and yet they pressed on, driven by duty, adrenaline, and the unspoken knowledge that the Hellcat was their lifeline. Smith glanced at Hayes, who was lining up another shot. "On your 6!" Smith shouted. The Hellcat pitched into a violent turn, and the enemy fighter responded instinctively, trying to stay behind. You can almost feel the tension, the heartbeat racing faster than the machine gun's fire rate. With a burst of fire, Hayes hit his mark. The Zero erupted in flames and plummeted. One down. 2,499 to go. The sheer scale was staggering, almost incomprehensible. Yet every kill mattered. Every maneuver mattered. Every heartbeat mattered. A sudden maneuver from above caught Smith's attention. A formation of Zeros was attempting to flank from the right. Without hesitation, he banked, pulling hard against the G-forces, feeling the metal shudder beneath him, the vibration resonating through his very bones. The Hellcat responded beautifully, a marriage of pilot and machine, slicing through the chaos with precision. Smith lined up his sights and fired. Another enemy plane went down, trailing smoke into the ocean below. The sky was a cathedral of violence, echoing with the roar of engines, the staccato rhythm of gunfire, the distant scream of pilots. Amid the violence, moments of stark humanity flashed. Wingmen called out over the radio, voices strained, hearts pounding. "I can't shake him. I'm hit. Keep moving." Each shout carried desperation and courage. You can almost hear it yourself, the raw edge of human emotion cutting through the mechanical roar. Smith's own fear was tempered by focus. Every maneuver, every shot, every split-second decision was a testament to training, skill, and the will to survive. And then a glimmer of revelation pierced the chaos. The Hellcats were not just surviving, they were dominating. Their tactics, their machine, their cohesion, it was reshaping the battle. Enemy formations wavered, some breaking off, some spiraling into confusion. Smith could see it. The tide was turning, but only just. 2,500 Zeros were still out there. The battle was far from over. The sun climbed higher, burning away the morning mist, illuminating the enormity of the fight. Smoke trails and flaming aircraft dotted the horizon. The ocean below seemed almost calm, mocking the storm above. And yet, amid the chaos, a thought struck Smith. Today was more than survival. Today was history. Every decision, every maneuver, every bullet fired was changing the balance of power in the Pacific. But even as that thought crystallized, a sudden flash to his left caught his eye. A massive formation of Zeros, unseen until the last moment, banking aggressively. Wingmen screamed over the radio. Explosions erupted in the distance. Smith's pulse surged. The Hellcats had turned the tide, but the storm was far from done. The second wave hit like a thunderclap. Hundreds of Zeros dived from the sun, silver bodies gleaming, wings slicing the sky with deadly precision. Smoke from burning planes streaked through the clouds, carrying the stench of fuel and fear. Lieutenant Commander Smith tightened his grip on the stick, feeling the metal vibrate beneath his hands as if urging him forward. Every muscle screamed, every nerve was electric. the roar of engines mixed with the crackle of machine guns, forming a symphony of chaos that reverberated through the thin, freezing air. You can almost taste it, the acrid tang of burned fuel, the metallic bite of fear on the tongue. "Form up! Protect each other!" Smith's voice cut through the radio static, calm but commanding. Around him, pilots responded with disciplined precision, banking and rolling to meet the attack. The Hellcats, heavier and more durable than their nimble adversaries, absorbed the punishment and retaliated with lethal accuracy. Tracer rounds zigzagged through the sky, cutting through the glinting swarm like threads of fire. A Zero spiraled downward in flames, and for a heartbeat, the world seemed to pause, only to be immediately consumed by the next wave of attackers. Lieutenant Hayes dove to intercept a flanking group. His aircraft shook violently as bullets peppered the fuselage, tearing metal and scorching paint. Sweat mingled with the chill of the upper atmosphere, stinging his eyes. He flicked switches, checked gauges, and adjusted throttle, each movement honed by months of training and thousands of flight hours. In that moment, the cockpit became both sanctuary and battlefield, a fragile cage of steel and courage against overwhelming odds. Smith's eyes tracked another Zero attempting a high-speed run on his tail. Reflexively, he executed a tight barrel roll, feeling the G-forces press him deep into the seat. The enemy fighter's bullets ricocheted harmlessly off the Hellcat's armored fuselage. You can almost feel the sudden rush of relief and adrenaline, a fleeting heartbeat before the next surge of terror. Smith fired, tracer rounds ripping across the sky. The Zero wobbled, smoke trailing from its wings before plunging into the endless blue below. Amid the turmoil, moments of eerie calm appeared. For a brief second, the ocean below stretched endless and serene, a deceptive contrast to the carnage above. Waves shimmered in gold as sunlight reflected off the crests. But the illusion was fleeting. More Zeros banked, more tracers streaked the sky, more wingmen fell. Lieutenant Carver's plane shuddered violently as a bullet tore through the wing. He fought to maintain control, fingers white on the stick, mind razor-sharp despite the pounding of fear. "Hang on!" Smith's voice pierced the static, a lifeline in the storm. Formation tightened instinctively, wings overlapping in coordinated defense. The Hellcats were not merely surviving, they were turning the tide. Their superior firepower, rugged construction, and tactical discipline began to fragment the Japanese formation. The Zeros, despite their agility, struggled to penetrate the defensive wall, and some began to peel away, smoke trailing from damaged fuselages. And then came the moment that defined the battle. A massive formation of Zeros, nearly 500 strong, dove in from above, banking aggressively to split the American squadron. Time slowed. Smith could see every glint of metal, every motion of the enemy pilots, every calculation unfolding in real time. He barked orders, weaving through the chaos. "Focus fire! Protect the tail! Don't break formation!" The Hellcats responded like a single organism, each pilot anticipating the next move, each plane a cog in a lethal machine. Explosions erupted around them, sending shards of metal and fire into the sky. One of Smith's wingmen, Lieutenant Hayes, was hit, tracer fire tearing through his left wing. Smoke poured into the cockpit, choking and blinding. Yet, despite the damage, Hayes maneuvered with skill, evading another Zero in a daring split-S dive. You can almost feel the tension, the razor-thin line between survival and catastrophe. Smith's mind raced, calculating angles, speeds, trajectories. Every second mattered. Another Zero closed in, this one larger, faster, more aggressive. He banked hard, dodging its gunfire, feeling the Hellcat respond like a living extension of his own body. The enemy fighter followed, anticipating the maneuver, but Smith was ready. Tracer rounds laced the air, the impact violent and immediate. The Zero wavered, spiraled, and disappeared into the Pacific below. Amid the chaos, there was camaraderie, fleeting but powerful. Pilots called out, voices sharp with tension, laughing briefly when one maneuver outwitted an enemy, or shouting encouragement when a comrade survived a close call. "You got this! Keep your six covered!" Each shout carried hope, defiance, and the unspoken acknowledgement that every man's life depended on the other. But the scale of the battle was overwhelming. Thousands of enemy fighters swarmed like a living storm, each one a potential threat, each one capable of ending a life in an instant. Smith felt the weight of command, the responsibility for every pilot under his wing. Yet even in the face of impossible odds, the Hellcats held. Their superior design, combined with the courage and skill of their pilots, began to shift the balance. The Japanese formation faltered, some units breaking off, others spiraling chaotically as their numbers dwindled. And then, over the roar of engines and the staccato rhythm of gunfire, a sudden revelation. The Hellcats' resilience and firepower were more than tactical advantages. They were a psychological weapon. Enemy pilots hesitated, formation cohesion fractured, and the tide of battle began to tip. The air seemed to hum with potential, every pilot aware that they were not just surviving, they were rewriting the rules of engagement in the Pacific.